Hello students, how are you all? Welcome back to the class. I hope you all are great. You all are doing very nice in your life, and I wish you always do good in your life. Okay, so coming back to my session, as we have completed the first part of this chapter that is about combustion and flame, what we have discussed, student, we have discussed about what is the combustion, and then we have come to know that what are the conditions required for the combustion. Exactly, students, that we have done this much of part till now. But now today what we are going to discuss is we are going to discuss the about these topics, that how do we control fire, that if due to the combustion if the fire is there, and so how we are going to control it, types of the combustion we are going to find out, then flame, and then structure of a flame, because this is the chapter which we have, that is the combustion and flame. So we have to discuss the combustion and the flame as well. Now the combustion we have already completed, like in the last class what we have discussed, student, if I just revise in a quick go, and I hope my that all of my students that who have watched that session, they all have understood about the combustion and as well as the conditions required for it. So what's the combustion, student, if I'm not wrong, that what we have studied, that the combustion is that whenever any of the substance or any of the carbon compound in the presence of the oxygen, it got combust in the presence of heat. When we give heat to it, so what happened, there is the formation of the carbon dioxide along with heat and light. So this is the combustion reaction. Exactly, student, that there is the release of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, but the combustion always takes place in the oxygen. That means we have discussed some of the conditions also, that what are the conditions required for the combustion. So I hope you remember that point, that we required oxygen, that what we required proper supply of oxygen, we require its ignition temperature to be low. I hope you remember what is IT, that in the in the last session we have discussed that the IT is the ignition temperature. Fine. And then the last part, that the last condition, which is that it should be a combustible substance. Combustible substance. Fine. So these are the conditions for which we require for the combustion. Fine, student. Now, like in the last class, I have given you one of the example. Like if by mistake or unfortunately, if any mishappening occurs, that means if any of the building, if any of the office, due to any electric spark or something like that, or any electric short circuit, or even though like if in our houses, like if unfortunately some mishappening occurs and it got get fired, so how we are going to control it? Exactly, because if the fire is there and we have to control it, because if we are going to um call the people, call for helping us to stop that fire, it will take a long time and it can be a harmful thing for us also. So what we can do, that we can use some of our precaution, that we can use our some of the that what we can say, that we can like first aid. For example, we can take off the first aid, that whenever we got any of the injured, so we do first aid. So that means for the fire control we should also know some first aid type of point, so that we can do something from our end. Exactly, student. So that now you can imagine also, like if unfortunately some mishappening occurs like this, if something is getting fired, or even though you can see that if any cloth is getting fired, so how you are going to control it? So first of all, student, the thing comes in your mind, okay, ma'am, we'll throw water over it and the fire will get that the fire will get stopped. But it's not like that, student, because every time you can't use water. Okay, because it depends upon the type of the fires which we are having. Okay, that the cause of the fire, that it depends upon the cause of the fire, that if it is a normal fire, or we can say that if the fire caused due to any electric shock, so you can't use water. Because student, what happened, that the water is a good conductor of electricity. Then if you apply the water at that point, then you would also getting harmed from it. Okay, so at that point we can't use water. So that's how, student, we have to use some of the techniques so that we can control the fire. And always remember this thing, my dear student, that whenever you observe any fire starts because, or any fire caused due to any electric short circuit or due to any electrical appliance, never, never, never ever use water for that purpose, because water is a good conductor of electricity, and if you are using water to cover up that fire, or to control that fire, it won't happen like that. Okay, so I think I have give you a brief introduction about it. Like today, what we are going to discuss, we are going to discuss about how do we control fire, then types of combustion, then we are going to study about flame. Flame, you can see that this part, that the when the candle glows, that that is called as its flame, and the structure of the flame we are going to discuss. Fine, students. So, first of all, students, like if I want to tell you that how do we control fire, but first of all, we should think that okay, we are going to control fire, but we should think that what can be the causes of the fire. It can be like that, okay, if you are using matchstick and by mistake it drop down on any cloth, so it catches fire. So at that point, you can use water. You can put off 1 mug of water or 3 mug or 2 mugs of water so that that fire can control. But like as I already mentioned, if the fire caused due to any electric short circuit, never use water. Okay, so we can see that the cause of the fire, we can see here, cause of fire. Okay, then we'll think about the techniques, that how we can stop that fire if it is going on there. Okay, so how we can stop that? See, first of all, the cause of the fire, that the fire which can occur normally due to the matchstick or something like that. So you can like due to matchstick, so you can control it by applying water. And second, due to any electric spark or electric shock circuit. Okay, electric spark. And the third one, that sometime happens due to oil also, if the fire is due to the oil. So in these two cases, never use water. Okay, because for the electric spark, I have already told you that the water is a good conductor of heat and electricity, so it will not stop the fire, even though it will increase that fire. Okay, and then for the oil also, never use water, because we know this thing that the oil is heavier than water, and when you apply the water to control that fire, so what will happen, that oil will come over the water because it is heavier than water, and it will not allow the fire to control, allow the fire to get stopped. Okay, so these are the conditions. Okay, so students, like whenever we are having fire which we can control by using the water, so these are the normal. Okay, we can use water, we can throw water, and with the fire get controlled. But if the fire is because of any electric spark, or if we, because of any oil, that means if we can say that if the fire is because of the any petrol, that petrol or diesel or something like that, so how we are going to control it? Then what we can do? So students, we'll look at it one of the video, but before that, if I want you to think any trick like which you can use and you can stop such kind of fire. See student, first of all, look at the conditions which we required for combustion. See, ignition temperature, is it is it under your control to slow down or to increase the ignition temperature of any compound or any substance? No, we can't do that, because that ignition temperature is their property, we can't change it. Okay, so it is not going to be helpful. Combustible substance, if any substance is combustible, so it is going to be combust. Okay, we can't help it. But what we can do, that if any fire is going on and we want to control it because of electric spark or oil, so what we can do, we can stop the supply of oxygen. You can got my point. Like, do anything so that the oxygen will not supply to that fire, because if the oxygen is supply is continuously supplying to that particular combustible substance, so it is going to be converted into fire, and it is not going to be controlled. So what we can do, that we can just cut off the supply of the oxygen so that the fire can control at that point. So this can be one of the technique. Like in our last class, we have observed that if in one beaker, okay, I'll draw, and again, please don't mind about my drawing. and I am putting one candle in it. Okay, this is the candle and its flame. That's a good drawing, students. Okay, so this is the open beaker. That means that there is the supply of the oxygen, so the flame is coming out. That means it is catching fire easily. But if I covered up this, okay, this is the covered part. Okay, that means no supply of oxygen. So what you'll observe after some time that the candle is not glowing there. Okay, so that's how, student, you can control the fire. This is one of the technique, you can say that. Okay, now starting with the video which I have been like for you, which I have been used up for you, so we are going to see that video. Okay, my students, I hope you will like that video. Just give me a minute so that I can show you that video. I hope I am doing a great job for my students. I hope. Okay, there's the video. So students, please look at it carefully, because it's not only about your studies or about gaining marks. It is something which we are learning for our life also, for our daily life purpose also. It's not like that it is a part of the syllabus, so just we have to cover it. But it is something like that, that which we are going to apply in our life, which we can apply in our life, and which can be very helpful for us also. You can agree with me. Exactly, that a controlling fire is not only about gaining marks. Controlling fire is something that you should know. Okay, so we'll see now. See, student, that how we can go to, like, how we can cut the supply of oxygen. So there are some things like fire extinguishers are there, and many things are there, like how we can control it. So starting with our video. Okay, students, just give me a minute. Okay. Okay, students, just give me a minute so that I can show you. Okay, so students, we are having this video. Actually, that link was not working, which I have pasted before. So please focus on this video. Don't focus about it. Okay? Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Science for Juniors with me, scientist Radhik Krishna or SRK. The
See, student, we that this video has taken any like hypothetical scientist, so that students can get attracted towards it. Okay.
super scientist at work with my super bright assistant Binny. Binny, where are you?
Up here, Professor! Yoo-hoo! On the ladder! I just fixed the fire alarm you asked for yesterday.
Oh, wonderful, Binny. You know how absent-minded I am while working. And if just one chemical reaction goes out of control, it can cause fire with lots of smoke and toxic gases. It can be very destructive, you see.
Yes, Professor. Fire can be very destructive and can burn almost everything.
Yes, Binny. Do you know that the Great Fire of London in 1666 destroyed the entire city because...
Students, you can hear that like fire can even destroy everything, even though human beings also, nothing can be saved from fire. So that's why she used up that fire alarm, that where if due to any mishappening, if the fire is there or the smoke is coming out, so that fire alarm will catch that smoke and it will start ringing, so that the people can come to know, okay, there is some fire and we have to rush out from that place, and we have to call immediately to the fire station. Exactly. So that's how, because the fire cannot, like, we can't say if if there is fire and we don't have anything to get safe from it, so it will be a danger thing for us. Okay.
Was the king's baker forgot to put out the fire that heated his oven. And of course, you never had fire alarms in those days, so you see.
It's great to have a fire alarm then, Professor, but you still forget so much. I'm afraid you need a better plan than prevention and warning alone.
Uh, yes, you may be right, Binny. And that's why we are going to study how to fight fire today. So let's enter the virtual world and learn how to fight fire. Fire breakout in buildings such as residential houses and offices can cause destruction of life and property. To reduce the destruction, fire needs to be controlled. The combustion of a substance requires fuel, oxygen, and heat. So removal of any of these helps in controlling fire. The use of water to douse the flames is the most basic and prominent method of fire control.
So student, as you can see that if any house or if any office catches fire, and so it can be a harmful for everyone, like for a life also and for the property also, it can destruct each and everything. But the basic thing which we use to control the fire is the water. Exactly, like which I have already told you. But yes, we can't use that water for that purpose for the electric shock also. So electric short circuit. Okay, so but the basic thing which we use to control the fire is the water only. Okay, now continue with our video.
Water lowers the ignition temperature of the burning material or fuel and thus stops fire from spreading.
So students, like when I was discussing that if you can reduce the ignition temperature, see students, what happened now, increase the ignition temperature. Like without anything we can't do it, but water can do that. Water can reduce its ignition temperature, or like that we can say that it is going to change its ignition temperature so that fire can control. Okay.
Cutting off oxygen supply to the burning material is another effective way of controlling fire.
And see, this I have already told you that if we are having any fire and if we cut the supply of the oxygen, see what happened in the case of houses and the offices. If they got like if they are on fire, so we can't cut the supply of oxygen because they are huge in structure. But like if they, you in this video you can see that there is the sofa and it got fire. So what we can do, that we can put off any cloth over it or something, but the cloth should not be of any cotton or something like that. It should be somewhat heavy, made up of heavy material, because cotton clothes will also catches fire easily, terracotta clothes catches fire easily. So you have to use that fabric of cloth also, which can cut off the supply of oxygen and it will not get harmed. It should be somewhat of heavy material. Okay, so this can be a second technique also. First of all, we are using water which is changing the ignition temperature. Second, we can cut off the supply of oxygen as well. Now continuing with it.
One of the methods to cut off oxygen supply is to cover the burning material with a blanket. Fire extinguishers can also be used to control fire. A fire extinguisher contains sodium bicarbonate solution and concentrated sulfuric acid that react to produce carbon dioxide gas. The carbon dioxide gas, so formed, forms a blanket around the fire, cutting off the oxygen supply.
So students, like you have seen that they have told you that we can use the fire extinguisher in which we are having the solution of the sodium bicarbonate, that is the sodium bicarbonate is this, and the sulfuric acid which is the H2SO4. So by mixing these two we are getting carbon dioxide. So that carbon dioxide we can apply over the fire, because student, what happened that the carbon dioxide is more heavier than oxygen. So what happened that whenever there is the fire, so this carbon dioxide will make a blanket over that fire, and due to which there is the cut off the supply of the oxygen, and that's how fire can be controlled easily. So these are the few things which we can use. And even the students, like these fire extinguisher, these red color of cylinders, you have seen everywhere. Like if you are going to any public places, like in malls or in cinema halls, or even though in your schools, offices, or any public place, you always have seen those fire extinguisher, they all are present there. So it's just that we have to use that fire extinguisher, so that carbon dioxide, because it is heavier than oxygen, so it will cover up that fire in the form of the blanket, and that's how there will be the cut off the supply of oxygen. And what you can observe, that the fire is going to be controlled at that point. So these are the some points which you can use. And again student, water can be used only when there is some kind of that fire, okay. But whenever you are having the fire because of the electric short circuit, I am repeating it again and again, so never use water, use fire extinguisher, or just try to cut off the supply of oxygen, okay. Like if you're like sofa, so you have to use blanket. Like why we are talking about blanket, I have already mentioned it, it should be somewhat heavy cloth, it's not should be light cloth, okay.
And back into the real world where we have just installed a fire alarm.
Professor, I've heard a phrase often, fight fire with fire. Can you really fight fire with fire?
Well, Binny, you see, to grow and rage on, a fire needs oxygen and a fuel, like wood or other combustible things that can catch fire. Now, if you remove oxygen, you can kill fire. And if you remove the fuel it feeds on, you can kill the fire again. And sometimes, a fire is killed by creating fire.
How is that possible, Professor?
Well, haven't we recently seen how difficult it is to put out fire in an oil well? So sometimes what is done is that in a nearby area of where a fire has occurred, a blast is done by detonating dynamite. This blast eats all the oxygen of the area, and hence fire is controlled.
Clever.
See students, like why they have told you that it is not used every time, that if any of the house or something is on fire and we can't help it, so what we can do, that we can put a fire at any other place, so that fire will use up all of the oxygen from that area, and the previous house which was on fire, it get, and the fire get controlled over it, okay student. So this is how we can control the fire. So these are the basic things which we can apply in our daily life, so that we can control out the fire. And even the student, there can be many more methods you can apply, like by uh, putting up of like blanket, or cutting off the supply of the oxygen by using fire extinguishers. We are having different type of fire extinguisher. One of those is that which releases the carbon dioxide, which is having the solution of sodium bicarbonate and sulfuric acid. So these are the, that how do we control the fire. Fine. Now moving towards it, that what are the types of combustion. So students, we are having three types of combustion, as you can see. One is the rapid combustion, second is spontaneous combustion, and third is the explosion. How you can differentiate between these two? See, when the combustion you can say that when the combustion occurs very rapidly, that is called as the rapid combustion. And spontaneous combustion is that combustion that will not take a single second to get start, okay. See, it is a type of combustion in which material suddenly burns into a flame without application of any apparent cause. For example, burning of phosphorus. That means, student, like for the rapid combustion, as you have seen that whenever our mother used to cook food in our houses, we use LPG. So LPG is also what? LPG is also undergoing the combustion, and it is giving us flame. That is the rapid combustion, that it starts rapidly, okay. The, like we have to just put on the lighter, and that's how the combustion start. That is called as the rapid combustion. But the spontaneous combustion is that we don't know, and it just and it just suddenly gets off the flame. For example, that if we can use one of the example here, like if there is the leakage of LPG and we don't know about it, and if there is a small like matchstick there, so it will suddenly catches the fire. That is called as the spontaneous combustion, okay. And that spontaneous combustion will convert into the explosion. For example, like the crackers, you can see in the picture, like on the festival of Diwali, we used to burn crackers. So just we have to give the fire, and they start exploding, they give spark, they give flame. So that's how, that is the explosion combustion, Okay, so these are the three types of combustion, and you can differentiate between these three. That the rapid, which is rapidly undergoing the combustion, whereas spontaneous is one that it suddenly catches the fire and it starts burning with flame. That is called as the spontaneous. And the explosion, in which you can heard some of the noise also, like in the example of the crackers. When the crackers burn, so there is the light, there is the explosion, there is spark, even though there is noise also. So that is the explosion. Okay, so these are the types of combustion, students. I hope you are getting each and every point, my students. Now, moving towards our topic. So we have done with the combustion parts. Now that means till now we have discussed about combustion, that what is combustion and what can be the cause of the fire and how you can control the fire. Okay, and then we have covered up the type of the combustion as well. For example, students, you can take the examples of explosion in the case for the crackers are there, but there are some examples also that firecrackers are there and large amount of gas. Okay, yeah, on the explosion there will be a, we can say that the explosion, that gas also released. That is why on Diwali what happened, that in some of the area there is the banning, that there is a ban on firecrackers, that the government do not allow to burn crackers, because when we burn crackers there is a lot of pollution created, and that pollution is not good for health. Exactly, students. So that is how the combustion sometimes creates a problem. Okay, now moving towards our topic, that is the flame. Now this is somewhat new starting. Combustion is the that yes, in the presence of oxygen, carbon dioxide, heat and light is there. But student, now what is flame? So it is a part, you can say that the flame also is coming from combustion. When the combustion is going on and when any of the material is getting fire or it is getting burned, so some of the material catches fire and starts burning with a flame. For example, candles. That the candles, when we give them fire and they start burning, but they show some flame also. It's like in this picture, I can show you one thing, that it is having this flame. Even though, like, if I ask you to think about some of the materials or some of the substances which burns with the flame, so what it could be, just think about it, that what it can be. Like, one of them is the candle, but what else can be there in these list of flame, the materials which burns with flame? So, students, like, I have given you some time so that you can think about it. So, one of them is candle. Another one is that we can say that the fire stove, that the LPG also burn with the flame. Even though, but it is at a, you can say that the burning of the candle is very, you can say that to a very small extent, but the flame which we got from the LPG, it converts it into the explosion. Even though when the petrol, the fire which caused due to the petrol, it also having flame, then only you see na, that in the movies and pictures, whenever you see any bomb blast or something like that, they always have some explosion and they start burning with the flame. Exactly, so that is the flame, student. So you can say that flame is that visible or the gaseous part of the fire which we can see, and it can light up, and that it can use, that it produce light also. Light how? So again, like, students, whenever like there is power cut or we don't have any other option of it, so that we can use the power in our houses, so what we use like candles. And even though, like, when we go for fire camping, at that point also, students, what happened, that we are not having electricity at all of the places, because you know that the what we can say, that the interest or the coolness of the fire camping will be at that place which is somewhat at outskirts, not in the public area. Exactly. So we use that fire camp, and that due to that fire camp, like when we burn those wood logs, what we get heat from it and we get light from it. Exactly, and that's the same purpose of the candle. That whenever there is a power cut in our houses, so we used to burn the candles that we use so that we can get some light from it and we do our work from it. Exactly, students. Like if I talk about, even though when like I was a child, what can I say, that when I was 4 or 5 years, I think so, or six maybe, or I can be eight also at that time. And I was not having inverter in my house, because nowadays we are having inverters, we are having electric generators, so that if there is no electricity we can use the electricity from that. Exactly. But at that time, if I was not having inverter in my house and if there is a power cut, so what I have to use candles so that I can study, or my mother can do some household work, so that we can see those things. So in the night time, not in the daytime, so don't get me wrong, because daytime is that time which we can do without light also. But I'm talking about night time. Okay, because in some mind of the student can come, ma'am, what about daytime? In daytime also you require candle. So okay, so yes, it's for night time that we use to that burn the candle so that we can light from it and we get heat from it. So student, flame is that part which is having the, which is visible, because we can see that flame. Exactly. So students, that the candle or the fire camping, that or the explosion, so we used to see the flame. Fine. And again, student, I just want to show you one video again, and I hope that it will not happen again, that its link is not going to be work. So just give me a minute, I'll just show you that video also, because
Introduction.
I just want my students to learn each and everything in a very unique way. Okay, I think it is not here, so just students, what we can do. Okay, so this is the flame. Okay, students, like we can see. But now students, for example, we have to, that it is in your syllabus that we have to cover up the structure of the flame. Okay, so how we can do that? Yeah, so we can use that. Just give me a minute, students, so that I can show you that video. Fine. I hope my students like watching video, because by looking the video na, your curiosity of learning or the way of learning will get very much different. Exactly. Okay.
Introduction. It is summer vacations. Friends have gathered at Mohit's place to play a game of carom. During the game,
uh, Students, they are talking about summer vacation. I hope this whole year is a summer vacation. Okay.
the electricity went out. Mohit went and brought a burning candle to finish off the game. Everyone had seen a burning candle, but today seeing the dancing flame was interesting. The flame is an interesting topic to discuss. In this lesson,
See, now that flame is always dancing. Have you seen that the flame is always dancing? So it is the like it is an interesting part which we can see, that they were playing, and like I have told you this thing, that there was the power cut. So what they do, they just use the candle, and what they observe, because they was free with that time. So what they observe, that okay, that flame is dancing. So now look at here.
we discuss about the flame and fuels. Objectives. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to explain the structure of a flame, define fuel and fuel efficiency, explain the harmful effects of burning fuel.
See, students, like you don't have to focus on other points. It's just that we have to
When
see
we
the
look at a
flame.
flame of kerosene lamp, it is yellow in color, but the flame of a kitchen stove is blue. It is interesting to know that the
See, students, like what the question he is asking here, that we are having flame and the kerosene flame is yellow, whereas the flame which we got on our stove, kitchen stove, it is blue. So what's the reason behind it? So the student, the reason behind it, it is, we can say that the flame which we are getting in the case of the kerosene oil, kerosene flame, it is yellow in color, whereas the flame which we are getting in our stove, that is the kitchen stove, that is blue in color. So student, it is because of the supply of oxygen. Okay, supply of oxygen, you can say. So the supply of oxygen in this case, it is less. You can see here that it is less, it is less, and in this case the supply is more. That is why student, the stove which we are having in our houses for the cooking purpose, they show the flame of the blue color. And that's a student, that the kerosene, that is the changing of the, you can say that, for the flame color. Now why we have talked about it, so that you can understand the structure of the flame, because structure of the flame is having three different zones, students. And how, I'll show you in the picture here, that these are the three different zone: outer zone, middle zone, and the innermost zone. Now student, the outermost zone is the hottest part, middle zone is the less hot as compared to the outermost, and the innermost is the very less hot. Okay, so why, and see, due to the and it is blue in color. And see student, like I have told you that the stove, that the kitchen stove, the flame it show, it is of the blue color, because it is undergoing the complete combustion, and that means it is getting proper supply of oxygen. And so that student, that the that the outermost zone of the candle is getting all of the oxygen, and it is undergoing the complete combustion, due to which it is the hottest part also. Or you can say that it is showing the blue color. Okay, and the inside one, that the middle one, it is getting supply of oxygen, but it is not that much as compared to the outermost zone. So that is why student, you can say that it is the, you can say that it is not that much hot part, and the innermost part is not getting any of the oxygen. So again, it is of the different color, that is of the yellow color. Or you can say that least hot, and it is black in color, not yellow. Yellow is for the middle part, and it is a bright part of the flame. Okay, so this is the structure of the flame, students. Now if you want, we go for that video, so we can see it here also. Just a second, students.
The color of a flame depends on the oxygen supply. If the oxygen supply is less, flame will appear yellow due to incomplete combustion of fuel.
They got this point, that due to the incomplete combustion of fuel, you can see that the supply, if the supply of the oxygen is not proper, so it will show yellow color flame. For example, if I draw here a candle, okay, I'm drawing a candle with this color. This is the candle, and this is its lobe, and it is the flame. Oh, I'll just try to show you each and everything very properly, students. Okay, so this is the candle, and its inner part is somewhat black, so I'm drawing it with this black. And this is the middle part is from yellow, and the outermost part is from blue. So this is the middle part. Okay, this middle part is not getting proper supply of oxygen, due to which it is having the incomplete combustion. Income, that means combustion is going on but is not complete. It is incomplete combustion, due to which it is showing yellow color, and it is the brightest part of that flame. Okay, and see, inner one this inner one is not, that there is no combustion is going on there, due to which it is it is the least, you can say that, the least hot part of the flame. Okay, and that is why it is black in color. And the outermost part, which is the, this is the outermost, due to its complete combustion is there, or you can say that there is a proper supply of oxygen at that point. You can see that there is no cover here, so that the oxygen is supplying from each and every part, oxygen is supplied, so it is undergoing the complete combustion, due to which it is showing the blue color. So student, you can observe, when there is the complete supply, proper supply of oxygen, then it will show the blue color. And if it is having the incomplete supply, that not proper supply of oxygen, it will show yellow color. And if it is no, like it is no oxygen is going that part, it is the darkest part. So this is the structure of the flame, students. I hope my students can understand it, that the outermost is the hottest part, and the innermost is the least hot. Okay, so this is the structure of the flame. That means we have covered up the flame, we have covered up with the structure of flame as well. So coming to the next part. Okay, so now we have covered today's topic. Now discussing some question as well. Explain how CO2 is able to control fire, that how we can control the fire. So student, we can do what we can do here, that CO2 is a non-combustive. So students, like, okay, I'll just hide this answer so that we can come to that point. Like I have already told you that the carbon dioxide we are using in fire extinguishers, and carbon dioxide is heavier than oxygen, and due to which it will cover up that fire like a blanket, and there will be no supply of oxygen. The supply of oxygen is going to be cut down, and that's how the fire can be controlled. Okay, so that's the point. Now it is difficult to burn a heap of green leaf, but dry leaves catch fire easily. So what's the what's the reason behind it? Anyone? Not anyone. Why I'm saying anyone? Okay, forgot about it. Anyone? So like if the heap of the leaves are there and some of them are having water, like they are wet one and some are dry one. So which one is getting catches fire easily? So students, the dry one will catches fire easily because their ignition temperature is low. Whereas the heap of the green leaves, which is wet in nature, that means it is having some water, some moisture in nature, which increase their ignition temperature, due to which they will not catch fire easily. That's the problem, students. So that's how, even though that whenever we are doing the camp firing, or if we want to, like in a like in the last session also, when I have given you one of the daily life example related to it, like whenever there is the winter season and we want to burn some of the wood so that we can get heat from it if we are not having electrical heaters. So we use dry wood, because dry wood catches fire easily. If the wood is wet, so it will not catch fire easily. Exactly, so that's the point. And because if the wet wood is there, that water which is present in it, it will lower down, it will increase its ignition temperature. For example, like when we were discussing that how do we control fire, that in that point we come to know that we can use water, because water increase the ignition temperature, change its ignition temperature, so that fire can control. Okay, so that's the point, students. And okay, so yeah, students, we are done up with today's session, and I hope I have covered up each and everything, and I have tried to make you understand by using examples. And one more thing, students, like if any question, any doubt is coming to your mind, you can put up your question on the public forum or on the private forum as well, so that you can get your answer very easily. Any doubt, any question, you can put up it on forum. Okay, students, so that you will get help for your answer, for your question. Okay, thank you, students, and yes, keep learning from us, IITians. Thank you. Stay safe and study more and more. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.